here.
Is that you?
Okay.
Yes.
Then that was you, right?
You heard the recording? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Turned it on. Okay. And Josh has joined us. And Laura. Laura and Josh, we're recommending, if you can, to have earbuds or headphones.
That was a free tour of my condo. You're welcome.
Probably warmer than where I am in Ottawa, Canada.
Oh, wee bit in Phoenix. That's not bad.
They'll rub it in.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Well,
Beautiful Marin here, sunny.
You can talk to me in August. So.
Yeah,
it
must have been so cold in Canada yesterday because it was like 10 degrees in Jersey. So what was it, like 0, minus, negative everything?
For you in Fahrenheit, it was minus 13.
Holy shit!
I know, it was crazy. It was even for us. It was a lot. Yeah. Today's a lot better.
That's so bananas. That's just so bananas. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I need the summer, like, so bad.
I know. For so many reasons.
One of them was exercise. I was like doing so good over the summer, and then like it got below 50, and then now I'm like eating, and I'm just sitting like on the couch and everything. Like, damn it. You know?
I know, me too. TV-aholic, Netflix, Prime shows, great.
Cobra Kai, watching every episode of Cobra Kai.
I watched that
right?
like in one day, yeah. Welcome, Lisa, Laura, Josh, Chuck. We're recommending, if you can, to have headphones or earbuds. The audio's a little better.
I do.
Hey, buddy, what's up? That's my buddy Chuck.
Hey. Yeah, Jason, how you doing, man?
Good, man.
You guys, okay, you can't hear me.
Be right back.
Lisa.
Chuck plays in the Bartlesville Symphony in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
And I just did a really big orchestral show with Mark Wood from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra with them. And awesome symphony and great players, and he's a great drummer. So.
Oh, well, thank you. So are you. That's why I'm here.
Well, that's all you get for the day. I'm not going to say one thing else. Can everybody see me and hear me and everything's cool, like as far as that? Yeah?
You can use a ring light.
I have a ring light, but I put it on, it was too bright. So
there should have these settings so you can go or
I know. I tried to kind of like, it's a long story. I'm working on all my lighting downstairs, so.
Hi, Heidi. Heidi, if you have a headset,
that was my only suggestion.
Suggest that, Lisa and Heidi.
Headset
or earbuds, if you don't already have them. I can't quite see everybody really close, so.
Well, I'm not in my drum kit, but I have just my.
Okay.
There you go.
My snare drum here.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, like, however you guys want to work is fine with me. Like, we'll just keep you guys on mute. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat or even say something. I'm gonna be showing a lot on the screen. You guys could take screenshots. You could, all that kind of stuff. There's gonna be a lot of exercises. And if you want to kind of play along on a pad or a kit or whatever, by all means, you can always do that. So, so just let me know. Just make sure you guys are on mute.
Great. Okay. Well, I think we're just about everyone's here.
Okay.
One more.
Let me mute myself.
Okay.
Whoop.
So
on my end.
Going on mute.
Got it. So just as Jason said, if everybody can stay on mute, but anytime you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll also have time for a Q&A session towards the end of the session. So I'm Cindy with Beatkeepers, and Beatkeepers is an organization that profiles drummers and percussionists around the world. And we have clinics, online clinics and in-person clinics. So I'm thrilled we have Jason Gianni with us here today. I know many of you know Jason and have worked with Jason or studied with him. He's awesome. I have had the great fortune to study with him in New York for a few weeks at the Drummers Collective. And I think we're going to get a lot out of today's session on drum fills. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jason, and welcome everyone again.
Hey, thanks, Sam. It's so good to see everybody. I really appreciate you guys coming on and joining us here. This is actually my first clinic of 2022, especially with everything going on with the pandemic and stuff. So it's been kind of crazy with clinicians and companies, and I don't know. Did anybody go to PASIC this year by any chance? The PASIC convention? No. Um, PASIC is, if you've ever been to PASIC, it's like NAMM, and it's just for percussionists and drummers, and literally like 5 of the biggest companies like Remo and Zildjian and Vic Firth didn't even go. So it's
Wow.
yeah, a lot of changes. Somebody is not on mute, so make sure you guys are on mute. Yeah, I think it was you, Chuck. Chuck, my student Chuck is the guilty one. Yeah, lots of stuff has changed. So, but I wanted to thank you guys for having me because we're gonna do some damage together. Couple things I want to talk to you guys about. First of all, I realize we're dealing with a lot of different levels here of people. So Cindy kind of let me know there's sort of a gamut of people. There's some beginners, there's some intermediates, all that sort of stuff. So please be patient. I'm going to start really at the very beginning and give you guys kind of like just the beginning of some ideas. And then by the end, we're going to be getting into some pretty crazy stuff. Okay, hopefully some crazy stuff. So just sort of like understand that it's going to be tempered a little bit. Like Cindy said, if you guys have any questions, I don't want anybody to not understand something. So please just like say, I don't understand that, or can you repeat that, or can you go slower? All that kind of stuff, especially as we get later in the exercises. Does everybody here read to a certain extent, at least from a good extent to like an intermediate extent? Read music.
High level. High level.
High level? Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maura, could you do me a favor? Just mute yourself. But thank you for asking, for saying. Yeah, as long as everybody is okay with that, then we're good. If you don't know how to read at all, obviously it's a little bit of a problem, but we'll get you to kind of do the best we can. The thing with fills, guys, is that I get this question all the time. How do you solo better? How do you fill better? And Cindy and I were talking before we started this class, and one of the things about fills is that a lot of times you kind of don't know what part of the cycle you're on. Here's a big cycle of transitions and fills, and here's the technique part of it, and here is the musical part of it, and here is the stylistic part of it. And a lot of people just sort of don't know really where they are. They develop all these techniques and all this kind of stuff, but they don't know how to jump into doing it the right language with the right styles. And then you don't have enough chops, so like you develop rudimental stuff, but you're having a hard time turning it into like fills and applying it, and it's a weird kind of vicious cycle that you're on, So the one thing with fills to be careful is to understand that there's no magic pill. You got to kind of study a couple of different categories, how to do the fills, what the technique's like, different exercises or different, books to use, listening to different artists. One thing she and I were talking about is a lot of people pull fills from songs. Okay, great. That's a great way to learn. But are you going to use like, a fill from, Rush or something in a Madonna song if you're playing a wedding? No, you can't really do that. You know what I mean? So it's like there's sort of learning curves in a lot of different areas. So what I'm going to do for you guys today is give you a lot of exercises to work on, and hopefully the approach with the exercises will help you get into different areas and different sort of genres. We're not going to be able to talk about too much genre stuff today because that's kind of a whole situation within itself. For instance, what's the best way to do a fill in playing a mambo in Latin or a samba in Brazilian? It's not da 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 the way you do in rock. It's a whole different world altogether. So the language of fills is kind of a whole different topic as well. So if you guys feel like you're really shortened on fills, congratulations, you're part of the whole world. It's everybody has this problem, but it's just you have to understand that there's a lot of different categories, and it's up to you guys to figure out which category you need more help in. Does that make sense so far? You're with me so far? Cool. Thumbs up. Cool. Excellent. All right. So first thing I'm going to share, again, I'm starting at the beginning here. I have a sort of a generic beginner sheet that I use often. Oops, I shared the wrong thing. Hold on one second. Second. Okay.
And I just wanted to mention that I'm recording this as well, everyone. So I'll be sending you a recording if you'd like afterwards. So in case we missed something today, there's a lot to take in, like Jason said.
Yeah. So can everybody see this? Okay. Okay. Cool. I get some thumbs up. Yeah. So this is basically just a generic fill sheet for those who are not really up on doing many fills at all, who are not into like the chops yet, haven't really developed their idea of chops, because there's going to be some stuff later on in our exercise here that's going to require actual chops to use. And if you don't have a good like double stroke roll or flams or things like that, I understand that. So some people might be like, oh, this is so easy, just bear with me, that sort of thing. A lot of times what I do is I subject my fills into like 1-beat fills, 2-beat fills, 3-beat fills, and 4-beat fills. And these are honestly, one day I just sat down and just threw together some basic generic fills that are off of songs that I use in on my own, whatever. A 1-beat fill would land on beat 4, if you're in 4/4, of course, of your last measure of your phrase. You could subject this to some different drums, for instance, snare drum, tom-tom, mid-tom, and floor tom, or snare drum and floor tom. You're substituting what is in the groove for for what is in the last beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and bump bump, that kind of thing. For this, it would be 1 and 2 and da 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 da. Everybody understand this? Yes, we're pretty okay with that. Yeah, okay. If you guys want me to show you some of these, by all means, I will do it right now, but I think this is kind of some basic stuff, and we could skip over this. So what do you guys think? Should we move forward, or do you want me to show a couple of these to you guys? No? Move forward? Yeah, move forward. Okay, cool. If anyone wants a screenshot of this, by all means, take a screenshot. It's good for teaching, too. I don't teach a lot of kids anymore, but it's good for teaching and just showing the kids, okay, here's a 4-bar phrase. This would happen in your 4-bar phrase. This is the fill at the end of the 4-bar phrase, that kind of thing. Okay, cool? Can we move on? Excellent. All right. Now, the next thing I want to show, does everybody know what page? Come on, where are you here? Hold on one second. Okay, does everybody know what page this is right here? Does everybody know that? Yes? No? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? Yeah. This is syncopation. This is page 38 of syncopation. Okay. Now, there are a couple methods that I show with syncopation that are sort of the foundational methods for harder books like New Breed, if anybody's used The New Breed by Gary Chester, or some other books. And again, some of the stuff I'm going to show you right now is good for teaching, and some is it for your own studies. Now, first of all, does everybody see when I make a little box there? You all see that, yeah? Okay, cool. A lot of times with syncopation, or some of these what we call melody pages, is we'll take the last bar of every line and we'll turn them into a fill. Now, the method we use for these would be the same for any bar. So if you want to use that as a fill, you can. If you want to use that as a fill, you can. If you want to use that as a fill, you can. But what's the advantage of this is that you could use this as a fill, and you could use these first 3 bars as a groove. Okay? Now, let's talk about the fills first. Now, there's a variety of different ways that you could fill using syncopation or any melody page. The first way, the easiest way, is to actually play what is on the sheet itself. So if you guys understand the reading of this, you're talking about, if this is your time, you're talking about 1 and 3, 4. So everybody understands the reading of that, correct? Again, I don't know really what I'm dealing here with reading, so forgive me if it's too easy for you guys. Okay, so easiest way to fill, sorry, it's knocking my drink over, is you could just play snare drum and floor tom using that lick. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that sort of thing. Okay? Easy enough. That's cool. Has anyone played the syncopation page using the kick drum as the melody as you play a groove? I'm looking at some of you. Yes? Okay. Maura? Yeah. Heidi, have you ever done that? Or Dan, have you ever done that? Sort of. Okay. So the way to start working on this would be, this is sort of the sort of method to start working on these pages, is that you would take your first 3 bars and you would play the bass drum as the top line melody there. And then every time you get to the 4th bar there, you would use that 4th bar as your fill. And then, again, I'm going to go through different methods of the way to use these fills, all right? So just to make sure everybody can read this okay, we're talking about, I'll play the bass drum on these first 3 bars, and we would go something like 1, 2, ready, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Everybody reading that okay? Everybody understand that? Okay. When we put it into a groove, you're going to just basically play 8th notes with your right hand, snare drum on 2 and 4, and use that as a groove. 1, 2, ready, and. Everybody understand that? Okay, cool. Got a lot of thumbs up. Great. That's great. All right. Now, knowing that that is the basis of our groove template, then we could start getting into what to do with the fills. So the way that I just showed you with the fill is just playing the notes between the snare drum and bass drum, just playing what's there. We play it a little faster. We use that as a fill. It would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So that's basically the template to that. Everybody cool with that? Okay. So now, I'm going to share. I'm going to get off the share here for a second. I'm going to share. I'm sorry that you're seeing my backdrop here. Okay. Now, can you see both of what I have up, guys? This over here and the page? Yeah. Okay, cool. So if we take a look at this bar over here, one of the things that you can start doing is a method called filling in the notes. You could do this with jazz, you could do this with Latin, you could do it with fills, whatever it might be. From a reading standpoint, as you know, this is on the and of 1, this is on the and of 2, this is on 3, and this is on the and of 4. If you go to this method right here, this is showing you the bar here that I just showed you guys. And this is showing you the way to input the bass drum in what's called the missing notes or the rests. Okay? So this is on the and of 1, so we put a bass drum on 1. This is on the and of 2, we put a bass drum on 2. This is on 3, and then we miss the and of 3 and 4. There are your bass drum notes. And then we have a note on the and of 4, so you don't play a bass drum. Okay? So the fill itself, the way I did it on line 1 without the bass drum would be this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody cool with that so far? Okay. Then we put the bass drum in between and we have this. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that works? Now, what this does is this gives you the opportunity to do a couple things. Number 1, it gives you the opportunity to keep the groove going in a syncopated fill so that you're not, sometimes with fills, they get so syncopated, you kind of lose other people. So this allows you to have the 8th note going at all times. This is filling in all 8th notes. Number 2, if these happen to be figures from the band, bop, ba-da, bop, like a horn figure, it allows you to what's called solo around the horn figures like that. Right? So that your bass drum or other drums go between those figures. All right? Now, I actually took this from, I teach this this method, but I wasn't going to show this, but I decided to show it because Cindy, you were talking the other day, we were talking how you had like just a floor tom on one of your gigs and you like ran out of ideas. Remember we were talking about that? So the cool thing about this method is that you could do this with just 2 drums. You could do snare drum and floor tom with the bass drum and fill in whatever you're doing, okay? So, for instance, I'll play you lines 2 and 3 of syncopation. using our last bars with this method. Bass drum fills in the notes, and the rest of the bars will be the melody of the bass drum in your groove. Okay? So let's start on line 2, and I'll go to the end of line 3. And this is what it sounds like. 1, 2, faster, and... Understand? Okay? So it's a good way to start developing the idea. Sorry, dropping my stick. It's a good way of developing the idea of here are figures, and here is what you could put in between the figures. All right? This is kind of the easiest page to use it on. It's a good break-in page. If you start getting 16th notes, it's a little bit harder to do with your foot, but that's another way to do it too, and I'll show you a little bit of that when we get to the new breed stuff. All right? You could do it down the whole page. Like I said, these become individual fills if you want them to. So like, for instance, line 1 with this method would be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and you could take each one of those bars out and use them as an individual fill. A lot of times what I'll have people do is I'll go, all right, John Doe, play 3 bars of a groove and do that as a fill for me. Play another 3 bars of a groove and do that as a fill for me. Another 3 bars of a groove and do that as a fill for me. You see how this is working, okay? A lot of these melody pages are great for fills because you never run out of ideas. You have so many measures you could use as fills and ideas, okay? Any questions so far? We good? Yeah? Okay. I don't think we have any questions. That's good. All right. So let's work on what's called the 16th note method. And this is going to be the real template for moving forward with other pages. Okay. Now, what we're doing here now is we're going to go back to the same concept of taking this bar here. Actually, let's use bar 2 because I have that written out. This one right here. So instead of just playing the fill itself on the drums like the snare and the floor tom, what we're going to do is we're going to use 16th notes here as our template. And the 16ths will then, the melody will then fall into those 16th notes here. So for instance, this is on the and of 1. This is the and of 1. And of 2, and of 2. 3, 3, and of 4, and of 4. Now, with syncopation, because we're not dealing with any 16th notes, we're just dealing with eighths and quarter notes, assuming that you all are right-handed drummers, everything is going to land predominantly on your right hand for this. All right? So this isn't the best page to do this with. We're going to work on some other pages in a minute. It's better for 16th notes. But so anything that have quarter notes or eighth note subdivisions or partials is only going to be a right-handed accent. Okay? So the fill again, just from a count standpoint. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4. Okay? Now we're going to put 16ths in our hands. And with these accents, you're going to hear that same accent pattern, but now throughout the 16th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Does everybody understand that? Okay? All right, cool. Let me play you the first 2 lines again. Well, the lines 2 and 3 again at a faster speed with the 16ths so you can hear how they sound kind of at a more ferocious, like energetic level. All right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So that method, what you're going to find, and you'll see as I go down the list even more, you're going to find that this starts to get into also a hand exercise, you know, where it becomes technique driven. You know, you could do this with a metronome. You could do this with different type of rudiment oriented stuff. You know, all of a sudden you're working on these pages and you're finding that your hands are getting better, right? And that's that part of the circle that I was talking about before of where are you with these fills? Do you need to work more on this kind of stuff we're working on? Or do you need to work on more the application or the language of the style? It's all that kind of stuff in, you know, involved, okay? We understanding that so far? Good? Awesome. Okay. Now, all right. Can you see all three of those? Yeah. Okay, cool. There are more than just 6 surface combinations, but here are oh, did I write 6? 1, 2, 3, 4. I meant 5 and I wrote 6. Fantastic. Excellent. Please forgive me. That's 5. It's supposed to be 5 surface combinations. Okay. So, if we go back to our fill here, guys, all I'm doing at this point is I'm doing combination number 1. It's just the fill itself on the snare by itself, all right? And it's not tremendously interesting just because it's just on one surface and so on and so forth. However, if we start moving more toward the snare and the kick, we start to get some more interesting soundscapes going on. And the idea is to take the accents that you're reading here. Yeah, sorry. Let me move this over here. Okay. The idea is that you're taking the accents that we're moving here, that we're imposing here, and we're doubling it with the kick drum. Okay, so just the snare by itself was 1, 2, 3, 4. Now with the kick, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you get a little bit more, you know, energy under that fill. If you ever watch guys like Steve Smith play, Steve does a lot of what's called unison type accented fills like this, where he's taking his right hand, and every time he has an accent with his right hand, he's playing his accent with the foot. You know, that sort of thing. So it really adds a lot to your fill just to have that little bass drum underneath it like that. Okay? So you have snare by itself, which is what I showed you before. Snare with kick. Now tom accents with the snare ghost. Now what that means is all of these are going to become tom accents, and then the rest of the notes are going to be all ghost notes. Like that on the snare. Okay? Any right accent. Now we're dealing with syncopation now, guys, so we're all right accents. When we go to the next pages, we're going to start working on left accents as well. But any right accent will be your floor tom, and any left accent will be your high tom. Okay? So, on the snare itself, the regular fill was this. Now, with the accents going to the toms, it's just going to be the right, in this case, going to the floor tom. Okay? Again, we're going to start to involve the left hand in just a minute. All right? The next category would be the exact same thing I just did, but adding the kick into that. All right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, it gives it a little bit more like brawn to your fill. And then the last category would be cymbals and kick accents. All right? And you could use any of your cymbals. I don't know what everyone's setup is like, but oftentimes I'll use my crash over here and my crash over here, or even like if I'm trying to do more of a jazzier fill, I might use just sort of more of like an open hi-hat versus the tip of the stick here. So you're using more of a combination rather than a combination. But it's totally up to you. Right hand, these cymbals. Left hand, these cymbals. All right? You put that fill together with the cymbals, and it would be this 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, see how that's starting to move up the kit? This is something that I talk about with hand exercises I call levels. Levels being level 1 is your snare, level 2 is anything next to your snare, level 3 are your toms, level 4 are your next cymbals, level 5 are the cymbals out further. And you can kind of coordinate that with the way that you work around the kit, all the different levels of working up the kit like that, all right? So if I do up to tempo, that fill, each category would sound like this. Here's your snare, 1, 2, 3, 4. With the kick, with the toms, tom and kick, and cymbal. You have 40 measures on this page, 40. You have 5 methods. That's, do the math, 40 times 5, that's a lot of fills. Okay? That's a big amount of fills you could start doing just by that. And we've only just touched the surface of just eighth notes and quarter notes. That's it. Now we move to 16th notes. Okay? So, everybody good? You hanging with me? Yeah? Any questions so far? If you have any questions, guys, you can put them in the chat. You know, I'm being very, I'm kind of discussing everything really clearly, but if there's any questions or you want to cover anything, put them in the chat. Okay. Is everybody familiar with, I know Chuck is, but with New Breed? Does everybody know this book? No. So, this is a book by Gary Chester called The New Breed. It came out in 1977. It's one of the most popular books that you can study out of nowadays. It's basically the same thing as what you saw in Syncopation. Okay? It's a melody book. There's no full drum set parts. You know, there's no bass drum and hi-hat and snare drum all written out. It's just a melody. But it's all based around 16th note partials rather than 16th and 8th note partials. Okay? So, for instance, again, dealing with people, I understand some people don't read it as well. Some people do read it as well, so please just bear with me. Everybody understands that this is on 1. Yes. Do we understand that that is on the and of 2? Like that, right? Does everybody understand that now this is a 16th note partial, so you're dealing with a note on 3 and a note on the and of 3, the of 3, excuse me, the of 3. So this is 1, 2, and 3E and 4. Everybody understand that? You readers, yeah? Okay. This is, and one of the things that helps you read through a book like New Breed is to compare it to Syncopation, to compare it to things that you've seen already. So, for instance, all these figures here you've seen on Syncopation. And of 1, and of 2. Super easy, just eighth notes, right? And you look at this booger and you go, well, what's that? Well, it's a 16th note rest and it's on an E, so it's the 3E. Okay? And then bam, on 4. So 1 and 2 and 3E, 4. 1 and 2 and 3E, 4. Everybody understand that? Yeah? Okay, this is on 1. This is on 2. Again, same figure as what you saw back here. 1, 2, 3E and 4. 3E and 4. 1 and 2E, 3, 4. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay, I know I'm getting some of the reading out of the way. I realize, you know, some of this is a reading issue and that kind of thing. Cindy, I believe there's a question in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to take a look at that and see if it pertains to what we're going over now. So, guys, I handled the New Breed page exactly the same way as I handle the Syncopation page. Is I take the first 3 measures and I play them as a melody, and I use the last measure as my fill. And the approach is exactly the same way. I concentrate a little bit more on the 16th note method Then I do the eighth note method, which looks like this. Shrink this a little bit. Hold up. Okay, but the 5 different surfaces and the way to go about this is exactly the same. All right. So if we look in this bar right here, we have a note on the and of 1, we have a note on the E of 2, and we have a note on 3. And of 1, E of 2, 3. And of 1, E of 2, 3. Okay? So when we play it as a rhythm, just against, a pulse, it's, if you're thinking 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a, right? Put it with the 16ths. Oh, I'm caught, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, just as a little hint, guys, anything from a 16th standpoint that's on an upbeat or a downbeat, so an and or a number, is going to be played with your strong hand, your right hand. And anything that's on an E or an is going to be played with your left hand or your weak hand, like that. All right? Now, again, you could use any of these as fills. Just like I said before, you have all these methods and all these fills. By all means, just go ahead and play a groove and play this as a fill. Play this as a fill. Play this as a fill. Blah, blah, blah. But if you went through the system that I went through before, I'll play you, say, the first 2 lines. And I'll play the melody on measures 1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7, and then play these as fills. Now, let me go slow so you can hear them. You can kind of, compute it in your head, and then I'll play it up to speed, okay? All right. So, nice and slow, bass drum melody, then fills on bar 4s. Here we go. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... Y'all follow that okay? Yeah? Okay, now up to speed. Okay? So this is starting to give you guys more and more ideas. And like I said, you could really start blasting away in this category over here of all the different ways you could go about this. Now, your left hand is involved. So you can use the cymbals. You could use the toms, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to show you that in New Breed, in the next page of New Breed, which is even more interesting in a second. Let's take a second. I want to just take a look at these questions, and let's just do that before we lose anyone. So, okay.
I think the main question I saw, Jason, was the name of the books. If we could put the names and the author in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me know. Sorry, Eric. I got you, buddy. Okay. So, syncopation. This time I'll spell it right. Syncopation for the Modern Drummer by Ted Reed. And The New Breed by Gary Chester. Cool. Yeah, as drummers, guys, if you're teaching, if you're studying, these are 2 books that if you don't have, you gotta. It's like being a writer and never reading anything by Shakespeare or something like that. You have to have these books. They're like necessities, All right. All right. Am I losing anyone? Are we good? Can we move on? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right. So for those who are a little bit more advanced, who have maybe worked out of some of these books or worked out of some of these methods, here are a couple ways, and this is where Chuck comes in because I know he's done this with me. Here are a couple of ways that you can start applying this stuff to more difficult pages or, figures or whatever it might be, okay? You would take the same method that you would do here with the 16th notes, but now you have a lot more notes you're dealing with now, all right? So you have some more things that you could do between the notes. There are more individual type of approaches you could have to the accents themselves, that sort of thing. So for instance, let me first do this measure as the way we've been doing it, okay? So 16th notes, using those notes as accents. Okay, so this note is on the accent of E of 1. This is the E of 2. This is the 3 and the of 3. And this is the of 4. All right? So in time, this measure is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 3 and a. Did everybody understand that reading? Okay? Okay, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now, if we put it into our 16th notes again, it would sound like this. E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Everybody understand that? So E's and U's are your left hands. Downs and ups are your right hands or your strong hands. And we have more notes now, so it's going to start to get a little bit more difficult and a little bit more interesting as well. Okay? So here are your 16ths and your first fill. Cool? Okay? So here is this line. With the melody, it's a little bit harder. I'll do it slow. Melody first 3 bars, and using this as a fill. Okay? Slow. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Here's your fill. Everybody follow that, okay? Okay? I'm going to do it at a medium speed, and then I'll do it in up speed. Here's medium. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and finally up to speed. Okay? It really becomes a lot more interesting when you start doing this. And I'll give you an example of using these as individual fills. So let's say we do 3 bars of a groove, and then we use that as a fill. Sorry, guys. And then 3 bars as a groove, and that is a fill. And 3 bars of a groove, and that is a fill. All right? Same method, 16th notes and accents like you saw before. This will be a little bit longer because there's going to be about 16 bars here. But this is the way it would sound, okay? And we'll go through each one. All right, here we go. 1, 2, groove. And first fill. And here's your second fill. Third fill. And fourth fill. Okay? Lots of ideas there, guys. Lots and lots of ideas. You could be doing this forever.
Question.
It's really, really cool.
Jason?
Yeah.
So the assumption,
Yeah.
because of the straight time here, 4/4, is that these are really applicable to rock and pop, but do you think they can be slightly adapted to other styles like soul, jazz, reggae?
Yeah, I that's my next topic.
I jumped ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. I want to show you one more thing on this one, and then I want to talk to you about some jazz and some shuffle and sort of swung type things. Okay. So one last thing, if you guys are really getting up to speed with these fills, is the idea of adding double strokes to your fills. Okay? Now, if we take a look at this measure here again, and we apply those accents to our 16th notes here. Now, again, I don't know what everyone's level is as far as not just reading, but handwork. Okay? But hopefully you guys have good double stroke playing, because this is also going to apply to the next stuff that I'm going to show you. Okay? So the method here, did anybody march? Anybody do marching band? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is a very marching type of method. All right. So these are entitled. We call these diddles, which means you're doubling every note. All right. So the way that I just played the exercise before, I played them with single strokes here, with nothing but all the single strokes would be on the snare, and then the accents would be nice and loud on the snare or onto the toms or the cymbals, like we talked about up here. But if we took all of our non-accented notes and we diddled them, we played them as doubles, you could really make something out of these fills. Now, the thing is that this becomes a hand exercise, guys. This is a great hand exercise. I warm up with this before every gig, before every studio session. It's just something that's really good for your hands, all right? So let me play this measure again as singles, okay, with no diddles to it. All right, so here's your singles. And with accents, with no diddles, would be this. 1, 2, like before, ready, go. Now, at this speed, your 16th note doubles are going to be like this. Here are your singles, and here are your doubles. Okay, so the first thing is making sure that you have a good enough double stroke roll to get up to a fast speed. And the second thing is the ability to apply them to this type of exercise. Okay, now I'm going to go even slower and show you how this sounds sort of like beat by beat to break it down. Okay, so if we take this right here, and we play as written, nice and slow. You have a diddle on the first note, and then you have an accent on the E, and then 2 diddles. Put it together. Again. Everybody following that okay? Yeah? 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and Okay, you're still counting that as the 16ths. Your second grouping is exactly the same as the first grouping. No different. 1 E and All right? Third grouping, accent on the 1, or the 3, accent on the and the diddle in between. And the fourth grouping, diddles all the way through, accent on the last note. Okay, first group again, second group, third group, and fourth group. Together, nice and slow. Everybody following me? Yeah? Okay. Now, new breed, up to speed. This guy, up to speed with the diddles fill over here, will sound like this. 1, 2, 3. All right? It's really ferocious. It's really cool. You can do a lot of really cool things with that, right? Really neat. Now check this out. You can do all the same stuff that I was telling you guys before with all these different forms and ways of doing it, all right? So doubles with the snare you just heard, doubles with the snare and the kick, doubles to the tom accents, left hand upper tom, right hand floor tom. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those with the kick, 1, 2, 3, 4. And with the cymbals, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that one up to speed would be like Steve Smith kind of stuff. 1, 2, 3. All right? So it's like there's a lot of different levels to this. There's like a zillion different things you could be applying. It's really, really neat. Now, here is what Cindy was talking about. So let's go back to our syncopation page. And let's follow the same exact type of approach with syncopation as we were just doing with new breed. So, everything that Cindy's right. Everything that I've done up to this point has been more like rock or funk, or you can use all that in sort of straight feels. But what if you're shuffling? What if you're playing jazz? What if you're playing like a reggae, swung reggae thing or something like a one drop? Obviously, you need to base it on something besides 16ths. You need to base it on triplets or different type of rates, all right? Now, so for these, we're going to take the same kind of approach with this as we just did with the new breed, but we're going to base it on triplets now, all right? So first thing is we have to make sure we swing this page. And many of you may have done the exercise of going... Okay, you probably have done that already with syncopation, right? If you understand that you're swinging the figures, okay, that they're based on the idea of triplets. So anything that's on the downbeat of a measure is going to be on the 1 of a triplet. Anything that's on the upbeat of a measure is going to be on the and of a triplet. There's not going to be any middle notes of triplets in this page. When you're dealing with swung eighth and quarter notes, no middle notes. You're going to be playing them in your hands, but there will be no accents. Okay? So, here's measure 1 with triplets. Here are your triplets as measure 1. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Accents within the triplets, right? Here is line 1 as triplets all the way through and accents in the triplets. Actually, I'll tell you what. Let's do this first. For those who are maybe not quite understanding the reading, I wrote out that measure here. Okay, so and of 1. And of 1, and of 2, and of 2, 3, 3, and of 4, and of 4. Okay, so that figure just by itself on the snare would be ready, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Now you put the triplets. Ready, and 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, how does that work in, say, the other styles? Well, if you're doing a shuffle, your fill is mostly going to be based on triplets. All right, same with swing. And so on and so forth. So now you have the root or the foundation of your styles with triplets, and you apply the same rules to this, okay? So if Cindy was studying with me and I said, Cindy, okay, you're going to play 4 bars of time in jazz, and you're going to use line 1 as a trading 4. You're going to trade 4s. You're going to use that all on the snare, and you're going to play all those accents with triplets on the snare. So just the way we're doing it down here, it would sound like this. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 4 bars. And triple. Okay. Same thing with, say, a shuffle. All right. Shuffle for 4 bars. We use this as our basis of triplets with accents, and you got the same kind of idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 2. Measure 3. And measure 4. Everybody cool with that? You all understand that? Right? And if you take the same approach with this stuff as you did with this, you just go through the same exact thing, guys. So fill 1 or measure 1 on the snare. Snare with kick. Toms. Toms with kick. And cymbals with kick accents. How about doing what I did before with making the non-accented notes doubled or diddled? Okay? So take this measure. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and put them as singles. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take doubles and make all those doubles in between the accents. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So check this out. So I'll play, let's do 3 lines. I'll do 3 lines shuffling. Kick drum's going to play all the melody. And I'm going to use our 4th bars as doubles fills on the snare like that. Okay? So this is the way that would sound. 1, 2, measure 1, ready, and. Make sense to everybody? Yeah? Okay. the addition of the doubles to all this kind of stuff takes time. All right, it takes time to develop. It takes time to sort of really slow it down, and to really, uh, make sure your doubles are clean between the notes. Again, I told you guys that I use this I use these as hand exercises. I'll do it on the whole page with doubles and accents, and it really, really warms my hands up. And then you could, again, individualize them as fills and that kind of thing. I mean, there's literally a million different exercises you guys can use here, for stuff. And I know that this is probably a lot, and it might be a little overwhelming, but all of you should kind of just have an idea of where you fit into the scheme of everything that I just said, and then just sort of jump in there where you want. You want to start at the basic ones. You want to start at just singles. You want to start with eighth notes on this page, or triplets, sixteenths with the new breed. There's so many different iterations that you could kind of add to your own playing. One topic that I didn't get into that I teach a lot of is the idea of improvisation and how to go about improving fills and figuring out how to do things like off the cusp, like not from a record, not from a page, that sort of thing. And that's like kind of a whole different animal altogether. I know we're at the 8 o'clock hour, and I could show some of that, but I wanted to spend some time with any questions or discussions or anything that I've done up to now. I want people to take some screenshots if you need them. I didn't want to get too far ahead, and then if you want to do an extra 10 minutes or something, I could talk about that. So, Cindy, I don't know if you want to kind of head that up and see if anybody has any questions or discussions or anything like that.
Sure. We can take definitely a few more minutes for questions. Anybody want to pipe in, or any comments in general? I know there's a lot of information here. I think it's great, but we certainly would love to hear your thoughts on this so far.
Don't be shy.
Feel free to pipe in or send them in the chat.
Well, I'll speak if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
man.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, excellent presentation, Jason. That was very well explained and easy to follow.
Thank you.
Not necessarily easy to do, but easy to follow. So really appreciate your teaching. A couple things, a couple questions. One, when you were doing the double strokes there, I think that you were staying in all pretty much 16th notes, but just accenting in accordance with the page of syncopation or the new breed, whichever you were reading out of. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, let me get that back up again. You're talking about when we initially, hold on.
When you were doing a drum fill, you would play the 3 bars, oftentimes using the melody for the bass drum, and then you would go to drum fill and you were doing the doubles.
Yeah,
and
right
the
there.
doubles, I think, just stayed in pure 16th notes with the accents, which is really, really clever, by the way. But and it sounds great too. It actually really works. So I just want to make sure that I was following the figure correctly.
Yeah, look on the screen. Is that what you're talking about when I initially introduced it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the tricky things about this is that some people will mistakenly double the accent as well.
Okay.
And what you don't want to do is double the accent. You don't want to go or then it's just you're not gonna really hear the context of. You're trying to like put the doubles in between figures basically, and you're using the accents as figures. So you have to take it nice and slow, double the notes that should be doubled, and then accent and sort of stop on the notes that are accented. Like a dot and then da and dot dot dot.
Excellent. Yeah, I probably would have made that mistake had you not said so. So thank you for that. I'll work on it in that way. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Vihar, you have a question, buddy?
Yeah, I do. I understand the concept with the accents. I could never play this, what I'm about to ask, but I'm wondering what it would sound like if you substituted rests in for all of those in your fills, substituted a rest in instead of an accent in all those spots.
That is an excellent question, and another method that we use, which is filling in the notes around the accents and then using them as rests. I haven't done this in a while, so I don't know what it'll sound like. But let me see if I can do it. Like what you'd have to look at is probably the singles version of it first. So like it would be ba da 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 da. So does that make sense to you? That's what it is without the accents.
Yep.
And then with doubles it'd be sorry. Oh shit, I can't do it. Yeah, let me do it. See if I can do it fast. It's weird. Yeah, but you know that's definitely where you can definitely mess with the methods, the methodology of this. One of the things in if you're hiring like what you're saying is sort of what I do is I reverse concept this so that you would double the accents and leave the rest singles.
Mhm.
So it'd be like shit, sorry. And that's another way you could do. You also do flams. That's really cool. The flam thing's really cool because then with the flams you could use 2 drums for the flams, like you know, lots of really cool things you could do with this. Does that answer your question? I don't know if with Vihar went. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Eric, I thought I saw you go on mute for a second. Did you have a question, buddy? Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the flam sounded great. So, are you actually doing a lot of reading in your gigs, or do you find yourself doing more improvisation?
It really depends on the gig. I do a lot of Broadway, so I have to read out of the book, and I have to make sure that I'm reading every. I don't have any chairs on Broadway. I'm subbing, which means you have to read exactly like the person you're subbing for. So like everything in the book is written out a certain way, but then, you know, the end of that phrase is not a snare drum. The drummer on the chair plays it like a crash. So you got to kind of like rust that out, write a note in, and then when you go back, you're like reading every single thing, kind of like doing it with a fine-tooth comb, you know? So on that respect, I'm doing a lot of reading there. But then when I do like, you know, more improvisational, jazzier or fusion type of gigs, it's all off the cuff. It's all improvisation. And again, it gets into this area that we just didn't have time to get in today of like how to improvise the fills rather than read them off of exercises, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, man. Anybody else?
Got some good comments here, Jason, in the chat if you want to have a look.
Yeah. Let me look. Okay. So Chuck, I always learn something. Thank you, buddy. I owe you money, Chuck. I'm kidding. It's easier to understand how complicated to do. I have a lack of practice. Heidi, yes. Yeah, I know. Some of this stuff is really tricky, guys. I purposely started really slow and really like kind of easy for you guys. Again, I don't know what everybody's level is, so I apologize for that. I apologize for doing too much or too little. But this is a wide scope, and again, you guys got to sort of jump in when you can. But when it comes to like the rudimental aspect of some of this stuff, like doubles and flams, you got to take it slow. You got to, you know, do it here first. You know, don't go run on your drum set. Do it here first and work on it as a hand exercise, and then find the application. Okay. Thanks, Maura. Oh, well, let me go back to Claire for a second. 5 surface combinations are really good to know. Yeah. There's more than that. I mean, I'm just giving you guys like, you know, like a basic kind of idea that I follow, but yeah, there's a lot more. Flams are a great effect. Yes. Vihar, my eyes have been open wide. Very cool. Improv would be great to see. I think we could all apply concepts that you show. Great stuff. Thank you, Maura. The improv thing would take a little bit of time, but if you want to hang for a few minutes, I could show you, but it's up to Cindy.
It's really up to you, or we can plan another session. I think, as you said, there's a lot of content that you could cover in another clinic.
Mars says another session. We can do another one, guys. you know, I mean, it's if everybody wants to sign up and do another one, I'll be glad.
I,
The improv, yeah. What's that?
I vote for another session. I think this is great. It's a great forum too. So, by all means, if you're willing.
Yeah,
I
I'm definitely.
concur.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, sorry. So I hit a speed like walls, right? When
Yeah.
I'm practicing, I get up to a certain speed. There's just this wall. I find I can make a little bit of progress. I start to relax a little bit. Could you maybe talk about how to break through those walls?
Yeah. This is a really, really good question,
Thanks,
Chuck. And this is really hard because everybody's level with their technique and the way to play it is so different. Like the double strokes, for instance. Like I've seen people just play the shit out of this exercise, and then they get up to the double strokes, and their double strokes are so slow, and it like drags down the whole exercise. It's like, oh god, we got to go back to 80 instead of doing it at 115. That kind of thing. The only thing I could tell you, the easiest way to tell you, is that I think you have to, whatever method you're working on, I think you really need to do as much as you can away from the drums as possible. Like I really, really feel strongly about practicing away from your drum set, on a pad, on a pillow, on different surfaces. I was Sydney and I were talking before this. Like I really feel strongly about like loops. Playing along to loops where the rate, like you're actually programming a loop of going, and then you're playing along with it, and then you're putting accents over that. I mean, I don't know if this answers your question, Chuck, but like the idea, like if you feel like you're hitting a wall, especially with the double stuff. Did we get to the doubles in the last lesson? I can't remember. Yeah, we did. Okay, yeah. And like that kind of thing is like you gotta really shed on the pad for that. And if it's a wall issue on something like that, then it's probably a technique thing, which would be like a whole other lesson of like, what are you guys doing on your doubles? Are you using stroke? Are you doing push pull? Are you doing more of a throw pull? Are you doing full stroke? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. I'll just tell you 30 seconds, guys, for doubles. I would do a lot of push pull. So guys, make sure you're doing like throwing your stick down and your fingers come out like this, and then on the second stroke you're really yanking it in, so you're getting that type effect, and you're not doing that, or you're not doing just a drop. A lot of people are doing double strokes kind of like, which is not really any sort of control from the sticks. So having that type of technique is something to really work on. And and Chuck, if you're if you haven't worked on push pull, just go back and work on some push pull stuff, and you'll probably see that it'll probably break through that wall a little bit. Yeah, man. Okay. Let me read on some of these. Cindy, I got the comments. I see them right here. So, improv because another session. Ditto. I'm interested in learning how to create different fills because they play original songs in a pop rock band. Yeah, Claire. That's. I mean, this is. Everything I showed you should be the foundation to creating these. I think that what happens is with these is like there is a lot of information I gave you, and it could be overwhelming. But you got to kind of just sort of jump in with both feet in, work on a bunch of things, and then see what you kind of pull out of it. You hope that if you work on enough stuff that all of a sudden you're in a band, and all of a sudden you go back to good, and you go, holy shit, where did that come from? I didn't even know I had that. So a lot of it is like putting the exercise into motion and seeing where it goes from there. Private lessons are always good. I'm available for private lessons. We could see what your level is. I know somebody was talking about, I think it was Mora said, like 5 minutes each to have a critique. I think that's a great idea. But a lot of this is based on people's different levels too. And, just seeing like being on the spot and going, okay, create a new fill for me. Let's see what you got. Where are you? And then I could kind of sort of steer you toward what would be better for you to work on and what I discussed today. Like, oh, it's better to work on the syncopation stuff for you. Or, hey, Chuck, you stick with the new breed stuff, that kind of thing, Okay. Yeah. Everybody's kind of saying, yeah, like another session. So Cindy, maybe that's something we can do, whatever works, whatever's coming out, whatever, calendar wise, we could work out something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll send everybody to a recording from today, because as you said, there's a lot of information, so don't feel overwhelmed or concerned if you didn't get all the screenshots. I'll send it out in the next few days, and I'll also send out a couple of suggestions for a future date. I'll talk to you, Jason, find out when you're available, and then we can plan something else, hopefully maybe February, if that works for everybody, February or March.
Yeah, that would be great. Couple things, guys. When Cindy starts talking to you, why don't you guys put in like a couple of topics, sort of, in the area that we're talking about, that would be, kind of helpful. Like, oh, I need to work more on this type of fill or this type of technique or something. Cindy, the first thing we'll talk about is the improvisatory way of filling, of course. So I want to make sure to kind of touch on everybody's needs and not just sort of go, blah, here's everything, and you suck if you can't understand this. That's not really the way to go about it, So if you guys could discuss some topics, that would be good. And then we could do that. And then not to certainly market myself without Cindy here, but I am available for private lessons. You could just reach me. Here, Cindy, can I put my email in here?
Yeah, definitely. And while you're doing that, I'll plug that Beekeepers has monthly clinics with other clinicians as well. So have a look at beekeepers.ca if you want to see what we have coming up.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's my email down there, jason@drummersbible.com. Because of the pandemic, I'm doing more and more online lessons. This is my studio downstairs. I think this is good enough as far as, like, everything's translating to you guys, I'm assuming, between what you're hearing here and then what you're hearing here. So this is what you would see. And, we could discuss doing whatever you guys want. I'm not really, like, you have to sign up with me and do once a month, like, whatever. I mean, do one and I'll see you in a year. Do 5 in a week. I mean, whatever you want, I'm around to do it. So. Cool.
Okay, well, I think on that note, we're about ready to wrap up. Thanks so much, Jason. This has been really helpful. And a lot of great content and lots to practice, like you said. So thanks everyone for coming, and you'll be hearing from me in the next couple of days with an email and follow-up, and hopefully at our next clinic. I'll see you soon.
Great, guys. Thank you so much, everybody. And give me a shout if you have any questions, okay?
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, everybody.
Certainly welcome. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
Happy New Year,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you
Happy
very
New Year.
much.
Very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I can't leave. There I go.
Got it. See you next time.
I got